Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be customizing a Pokemon card using the primary colors plus black and white. Before I begin, be sure to like and subscribe, and let's see what I can come up with today. My first step was to cover the card, well, all of the parts that need to be covered, of course, with white paint. That way I had a base layer to work with. Since the cards are kind of glossy, I wanted to just give myself a layer of acrylic. That way I could build up the paints a little bit easier, and then I just jumped right into it. I kind of had no plan, no real idea what I was going to do. I just knew I needed to work on matching the colors and creating a full scene. So I first started by just painting another base layer of colors. That way I could get some idea for the environment around the Squirtle Pokemon. After I got those base layers down, I could start working on more of the colors that I wanted around Squirtle. So it looks to me like he's doing some kind of water surfing, skating type of thing. So that's what I'm going to do the card off of. So I'm making the rest of the scene in front of him water and completing the sunset horizon in the background. So I just started building up the right colors in order to cover the card that was behind it and to start creating the full scene. Here I decided to try and create a reflection of him in the water, but because I do so much with the card, later that kind of disappears, but it still works really well. Plus, you probably wouldn't see much of his reflection since the sun is behind him. It'd be pretty dark and shaded in that area. So I started off with this, but I changed it a little bit later, and then I moved on to one of my favorite parts of this whole thing, these water splashes. I love to continue these splashes of the water. I just think they made the whole thing really come together. I picked this card to make over in particular for a couple of reasons. One, I like Squirtle and I think he's pretty cute. Two, I thought the colors looked good and I could match them and make it kind of a painterly kind of look and it wouldn't look too weird or off base with everything else. And one more reason is that I have a card identical to this one, so that way I could still have the original card and a card that I painted on. I'm not quite sure how I feel about painting on Pokemon cards, which is kind of ironic since I'm doing it, but I'm glad I have an extra one. That way I still have an original one and one that I've painted. It took me a couple of times to get the colors right and to make everything look how I wanted. I had a couple of mistakes, but I just kept on going with it and color matching, and I think it turned out really well. It was a really fun challenge because obviously, if I want this transition between the original art and mine to look seamless, it takes a little bit of style work, but also it took a lot because of the color matching. I had to mix all of the colors from the primary colors. I wanted to make them as true to the original card as possible. So that was fun and it was quite challenging, but also worth it. Coming into this painting, I really didn't know what to expect because of those reasons. I kind of felt like it was above my skill level, so I'm really proud of how this turned out. I think it looks really fun and really cool, and I definitely see why people make this their job and like do this all the time because it's a lot of fun to see that art become a full piece of art and make the Pokemon in a whole scene. It's really fun and it's really cool. It's also fun because you have to blend your art with somebody else's, so it's challenging in that way, but it also helps you become a better artist when you study what other people are doing and what techniques they use. The colors in the original art are very colorful, so I really wanted to match my colors to that. It's just so fun and bright and awesome in the background that I really wanted to keep those kind of colors going throughout the whole thing. So I tried to make sure the top was very bright, and I tried to make sure that I incorporated the pink tones from the sunlight into the bottom of it as well. I was really liking how the top was turning out at this point, but for the bottom, I kind of had more that I wanted to do with it. I didn't feel like it matched the style of the top enough. The top is very loose, and the bottom right now, as I had it, was pretty brush stroke filled and very textured. So I wanted to smooth it out a little bit at the bottom. So I just took a more similar color to the top tones and blended some of the harsh lines out. That way it was more smooth like water and less choppy like paint. It was a bit of a risk because you put so much time into creating art and then you're like, oh, it doesn't quite work. Should I risk it and try and make it better? But maybe I'll accidentally make it worse. But you still have to go for it because, you know, you want it to turn out nice. So I just went for it and I'm glad that I did because I think it matched the top a lot better once I fixed the bottom parts. Then I could move on to some of the finishing details, like adding these little dots in the sky, which were really cute and fun, and just adding the little details that make the whole thing come together, like the outlines and some brighter colors and some thinner lines that just really pull everything in and make it all look like one art piece that belongs together. So that meant adding a few more white parts, adding a few more pink, adding all of those types of things. And of course, messed with the water again because, you know, you just want it to be as good as it can be. So I kept messing with that to get it perfect, or, you know, just looking how I wanted it to. And then I added some more of those details like I was talking about. I decided to bring in some of the orange from the sky into the water. That way it would reflect that a little bit more, and then I also added some more of that pink and made it a little looser too. I felt like it was too straight again. I wanted it to be more fluid like the rest of the picture, and then I wanted to create the environment a little bit more, so I decided to add a little patch of grass in the bottom left because I felt like that would tie in the green from the top right that was in the original picture. I felt like that little touch of green in the bottom really helped to tie my art in with the original art. So I felt like that was a good decision, even though I kind of struggled with it a bit. Of course, I touched up the water a little more and I added a little bit more of the orange highlights that were in the sky. That way it just really blended together. I felt like things were looking pretty good, but there were a few spots that needed some touch-ups to match the original better. So I added in some darker colors in the top left there just to blend it in with the original card. And then I also fixed Squirtle so he was outlined because in the original card he had a little thin black outline, so I did that as well. And then it was pretty much completed. I of course messed with a couple things a few more times, but overall it was completed and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it is so cute and so cool. I love that I was able to create art from art and it inspired this. I just think it's really awesome that people do this and had this idea. It's so creative and so fun. If you liked this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below if you want to see me do more of these cards because, like I said, they were just a lot of fun. So here's how it turned out, and here's the one that I still have that's original. For the first try, I feel like I did really well blending in my art with the original art. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. My husband was a huge inspiration behind this video. If you guys want to see another awesome Pokemon card video, go check out his channel. It'll be linked in the description box below, and be sure to give him some love and let him know that you came from here.